There are tons of free games available on Steam, but many of them can be difficult to run due to bad optimization or because it was made for newer PCs. No matter what system you have, you should be able to play most of the games on this list. I'm Jay from Cubold Gaming, and today I'll be showing you 10 free, low-spec games you can download on Steam. The two requirements for all games on this list are that the game is free to play and that the minimum requirement to play it is 1 GB of RAM. I didn't look at the CPU or GPU requirements, but since all of these games run on minimal amounts of RAM, then most of them should run even on the slowest computers. The Bloons TD series has a history of being some of the best tower defense games ever made, and Bloons TD Battles is no exception. The main goal of this game is to play against either a player or an NPC, and to try to be the last player alive. You have your typical tower defense items that you place down and upgrade, but they actually give you an option to send balloons at your opponent to try to get past their defenses. The challenging part of the gameplay is trying to balance your own defenses while also attacking the enemy, making the gameplay hectic and fun. The tower defense genre isn't something I play often, but I always have fun with it when I do. On the surface, it doesn't sound that interesting, but once you start playing, you'll realize how fun it really is. Whether you play by yourself or with a friend in co-op, there's a lot of replayability in this game. Champions Online is an MMO game obviously inspired by Marvel superheroes. You start the game by choosing a class, superhero, and outfit, and then you set off to save the world. It's kind of surprising how many different customization options are in the game. It has more classes and more options at the start than a lot of paid games do. The gameplay reminds me a lot of the gameplay of the Old Republic Star Wars MMO, which I would have recommended if it weren't for its higher recommended specs. The general gameplay and the movement was much smoother than I expected, so I can imagine that many people will find this game enjoyable. While I personally don't play MMOs that often, Champions Online is a really solid option for PCs that can't run anything fancy. I've put Super Crate Box on a previous list before, and that's because I enjoy playing it a lot. Years ago, when all I had was a low-end laptop, I'd play Super Crate Box every day after school. It was so easy to run that you can play it on pretty much any PC. In Super Crate Box, the goal is to defeat all the incoming enemies while collecting as many crates as you can. If you don't take out the enemies fast enough, they'll fall into the fire at the bottom, making them aggressive and faster. It's a great challenge to try to beat your score and to unlock new characters and weapons. This game is best experienced in shorter play sessions, but you'll want to play more as you unlock more items to use. For a simple 2D game, Super Crate Box really stands out as a good game to play when you're bored. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe to Cubold Gaming. Only a small minority of our views come from those who are subscribed, so every subscriber helps. I also want to mention that we have a gaming podcast called Cubold Cast, so if you enjoy listening to podcasts at all, then check out the link in the description. Originally a mobile game, Adventure Capitalist still holds the same level of addicting gameplay on PC. It's one of the most well-known clicker games of all time, and has greatly influenced the genre. You start off the game with a single lemonade stand and click it manually to make money. As you collect money, you can increase the amount you make with each click, eventually earning enough to buy a newspaper stand. Using both of these small businesses, you eventually save up enough money to invest in managers that'll automatically click them for you, which makes you constant income. The more businesses you own, the more you make, and the more upgrades you can buy. It's one of those games where you can easily sit there for hours grinding for the next upgrade. Eventually, you can unlock things such as buying an oil company or even blasting off to the moon. Since it was originally designed for mobile, it should be able to run on every PC. If you do end up getting it, just be careful not to waste all your time playing it. If you've ever played the board game Risk, then you'll instantly be familiar with the Steam version. Risk Global Domination is a free-to-play version of the board game that allows you to either play online or with bots. The game seems to have some pretty polished mechanics, but there's a weird token system that I don't really see the point of. Apparently you need tokens to play matches, and when your tokens run out, you need to pay for more. It was a sneaky way of pushing microtransactions in there, but I found it hard to run out of tokens. My only complaint about the gameplay is how heavily RNG comes into play, but that's just the nature of Risk. If you're not bothered by any sort of RNG and just want to have a fun time with friends, this is a great free game to check out. Spiral Knights is an MMO dungeon crawler that a lot of people seem to enjoy. I put it on a previous video, and several people in the comments were excited to see it on the list. The gameplay is simplistic and it's an older title, but the gameplay has held up well over the years. The goal is to fight your way around an alien planet using various weapons and completing quests for characters in game. Spiral Knights comes from a time in which microtransactions weren't so in your face all the time, but they were still there to use if you enjoy the game. The developers occasionally update the game, so you can count on new content being added every once in a while. If you want to have a fun time alone or in co-op, Spiral Knights will keep you occupied for a long time. If you don't have a Nintendo Switch but want to play a game like Super Smash Bros., then Brawlhalla is the game for you. Not only is it free and easy to run, but the free content alone has many hours worth of replayability. The game has a level of smoothness that most other free games don't have. All the playable characters have great animations and varying movesets, and it's the kind of game that's surprising that it's free. There are a limited number of characters that you can play, but if you ever decided that you wanted more, they're pretty cheap to unlock. Not only is the game multiplayer, but it's also cross-compatible with players on consoles and mobile. It's one of the best free games you can get, and it'll run on pretty much any low-end PC. Blockade is a blocky first-person shooter that I'd never heard of before, but was surprised at how much fun I had with it. I particularly enjoyed the gun game mode, which was very similar to the Call of Duty game mode. The guns were actually fun to use and the maps were pretty decent, but the only downside was the lack of servers in my specific region. Because of that, I was getting annoying lag where I would die and not even see the person who shot me. Besides that one single issue, I had a lot of fun playing it for this video. It's probably much more difficult to run than other games on this list, but since its minimum specs were under 1 GB of RAM, it fit the criterion. If you can put up with dying out of nowhere, Blockade is a pretty solid shooter. King of Crabs is a game similar to Agar.io and Slither, where the goal is to be the biggest crab on the server. You start off small and eat little sea creatures around you, and eventually you start taking on other players. Crates and gift boxes drop onto the map, giving you shields or weapons to fight with. There are large AI creatures that roam all around the map that you can fight for extra points or weapons. For a game with low recommended specs, the graphics are actually pretty decent. The only thing I don't like about the game is that there are some pretty intrusive pay-to-win elements. It's not the end of the world that those are in the game, but it can be annoying to have a good run ended by someone with an overpowered robot crab they bought. If you can overlook that aspect, King of Crabs is an extremely fun game that has a huge map to explore. It's a game that you can keep playing for a long time, and I highly recommend it. While Trove can be more difficult to run, those who can play it will enjoy an incredibly fun online experience. Along with the blocky graphics comes the ability to dig blocks and build your own base, which you can spawn pretty much anywhere you want in the world. The game world of Trove is actually massive, with sprawling structures littered throughout the land. I'm always surprised at how impressive a lot of Trove's structures are, as well as how much content there is packed in. It's been a while since I played Trove consistently, but I put over 40 hours in the game a couple years ago. While Trove does have microtransactions, it doesn't really force them on you, but rather it gives you the opportunity to unlock everything during gameplay. It takes a longer time to unlock everything, but at least you don't need to spend a lot of money. Trove is a game I miss playing from time to time, and it's definitely one of the best free-to-play games on Steam. If your PC can run Trove, then you should definitely check it out. And that's gonna be it for my top 10 free low-spec games on Steam. It took me a while to find free games that were actually fun, so definitely let me know if there are any good ones I missed. Thanks for watching Cubold Gaming, we'll see you in the next video.